welcome to Spiritual Formation Saturday with Amanda. It's so great to be back here again this week and to be able to share some time with you, to share another spiritual formation activity with you. And I really appreciate the feedback that I've been getting, and would ask actually that if you are finding this helpful, or if there's something that maybe is missing that you would like to cover, please let me know so that I can do that for us. So today, I want to remind us that last week we looked at community and the importance of being in community. And so this week, I thought that indirect kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Indirect relation, I guess, to that is I wanted to look at the idea of service and how service might be a part of our spiritual formation. And so I find it really interesting. Adele Calhoun, in her book, again, Spiritual Disciplines Handbook, talks about service, and there's this couple of sentences that really jumped out at me, mostly because I think that it's something that I didn't realize I needed to hear until I heard it for the first time. And Adele Calhoun says this: "We will never really serve others unless we see that the needs of our neighbors are as real and as important as our own. This may seem rather obvious, and it does, except that the truth of the matter is that many of us look right through others and never ever see them, let alone care about what they need." And so when we think about service, we can, look at the ways that Queen Street has been involved in service, and I think that we do a pretty good job of that, in that, our legacy with Out of the Cold, this year our 2-ton challenge, last year we had our Christmas outreach, so there is ways that we have served, absolutely. But what about in our everyday lives? How do we serve one another? How do we serve the people in our family? How do we serve our neighbors? How do we serve our cashiers at the grocery store? What are things that we can do? And so there's a couple of exercises that Adele has in her book, but there is a reflection question that I want to ask you, and I would ask you actually to hear the question and even pause the video for a minute and really think about what this means. What is it like to be loved by someone as she loves him or herself? So what does that look like? To be loved by someone as he or she loves him or herself. It's a challenging question. There's no doubt about it. In the Bible, it talks about the greatest commandment is to love God, and the second is like it, to love others as we love ourselves. And that's complicated, and we seem to be really good at loving ourselves and being mindful of our own needs, but what about others' needs? And I think that we sometimes have this entitlement that, we deserve something good, but someone else doesn't because XYZ, fill in the blank. But there really is some options here. So this is, there are a few exercises that I'll highlight. She has 7, but I'd like to just highlight a couple. The first one that I would like for you to consider um, is to develop a yearly practice of involving yourself in one intentional service, mission, or relief project. So consider which type of projects speak to some of the longings of your own heart. So um, for me, that is um, refugees, immigrants, but also projects around the world. And for me, that includes Lebanon. After visiting there and seeing what is going on, Lebanon is very dear to my heart. And so, for me, this might be um, developing something that a way that I can support people at Canadian Baptist Ministries and pray for them and consider what other resources I might have. Another that she suggests is to spend some time meditating on the story of the Good Samaritan found in Luke chapter 10, verses 25 to 37. And become quiet and ask the Lord to speak to you. Give your imagination to God. Read slowly the story aloud and really savor the words. What stood out to you? Read it again and imagine yourself as the Levite. Then put yourself in the position of the priest and imagine yourself as the Samaritan. Why do you stop to help? Who of these three characters do you most identify with? Who are you most like? And who in your life receives that care? Family? Friends? Who else might? And the third exercise that I would invite you to reflect on is to ask those who know you to give their take on what your spiritual gifts are. Because we're not always that great at being able to identify our own gifts, but others see us through a different lens because sometimes we don't love ourselves and sometimes we are our worst critic. And so the input of others in our lives as to what our spiritual gifts are is really can be a very valuable thing. And so she says and suggests to plan a way of using your gifts to benefit others in the next week and month. So make it a SMART goal that's measurable, it's specific. It doesn't have to be big. Service is not like I'm going to take on a major project. Service might be making a phone call. Service might be thanking your cashier and really looking them in the eye, especially now in the times of COVID. They get more flack than they need to. And so what better way than to bless your cashiers with a good day and a smile, and I hope that you keep safe. So this is this week's spiritual formation. I hope that you have a wonderful week, and we will check back in next week. Take care. Bye.